Hello, everybody. Welcome, Couch Entertainment. I am Joe Dub, and we are episode 2, Star Trek Picard. I'm going to try a new format. I'm going to try doing more formats just so that I feel comfortable when I'm speaking on shows, because I don't want to be that guy that rambles too much, and I don't want to be that person that does like a 20-minute video and I'm just like going through each frame and just rambling, being a rambling mess. I know some people like it and some people don't. The only way I'll know is when you comment down below whether you like just me focusing on plot presentation and writing. We could do that format, or we could do the frame by frame of me explaining what this, what's going on in the episode. So if you like that format number 2, now this third format that I'm doing is called a 5-point format. I'll have 5 points on the reason whether I like it or hate it. Each point is either going to be a positive or a negative. So for example, all 5 points are negatives, then that means this is going to be a bad episode. If you get more positive in the points, then it's a good episode, and that will lead to, my scoring system, which is the firm, uncomfortable, throw the couch out, or cloud 9. We're going to get into those points. Again, if you don't like this one, please comment down below. But if you like the other formats that I've been doing, and again, please comment down below. So let's get into episode 2 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. Grab a drink, grab some food, and let's get into some couch entertainment. Point number 1 here on Picard episode 2 is a positive. We get a flashback of Jack Crusher doing deals with some face police, I don't know, or I don't know who they're called, but they talk about being bribed because he opens up a case and it's Romulan ale. He's like, you could have that if you want. And he's like, are you bribing me? Kind of like they're inspecting the stuff on board. And then obviously Jack Crusher takes out weapons and gives this person some weapons. And it's showing backstory of Jack Crusher pretty much being this person who goes under different identities, which we will learn in the episode that he does. And he's making deals and he's stealing from people. Kind of being like Robin Hood-esque a little bit. We still don't know the full story. But what I appreciate about this flashback is we don't get a full episode flashback. We get a 10-minute flashback of what he's doing, and we get the idea of possibly what Jack Crusher is. We're not going to get the full story, but we just get a tiny bit so that we could piece everything together through dialogue within the show. Doing shade at The Last of Us, because what they love to do, they started doing it in the beginning of the season where they do these little mini flashbacks, and then they start giving us these full flashbacks. I don't want that. I want them all contained, sprinkled out, and learned what this person is and what they've done in the past. We don't need a full story. That's what books and comic books are for. Positive number 1 point so far. On to point number 2. Captain Shaw and 7 of 9 have a discussion being like, hey, you could either be a hero of saving 2 other heroes, which is Picard and Riker, or you could always be known as the person that didn't give the chance of trying to save them, even though they disobeyed Shaw's orders and stole a transporter. Those are still legendary people. That's Riker and Picard. So he had to make a decision, either let them die, and 7 of 9 in her report will be like, we had a chance to save him and Shaw didn't, or Shaw tries and sacrifices his 500 people on the ship to save these 2 people, which he does make a good point that, hey, why am I going to risk 500 people for 2 people because they disobeyed my orders of going and stealing a ship and going in that area. What's great, and the reason why I give it a positive, is this one scene here, right? There's a tractor beam or tracker, I don't know, tracker beam who takes on a small ship. The enemy ship is trying to get Picard, Riker, Jack Crusher, and Dr. Crusher, and it's like a green beam, and then out of nowhere, just out of warp speed, just the USS Titan comes in and it intercepts, and it looks so freaking cool. Presentation is top notch in this show, and I love it. Super love it. There's another point that I'm going to be giving, and that's going to be the third point as far as conversation on how this show is a Star Trek show finally. Star Trek is back, and here's this point. Point number 3. Like I said before, when the Titan intercept and then transport Riker, Jack Crusher, Beverly Crusher, and Picard onto the Titan because they saved them, because they had to because Picard put up these transporter deflectors so that no one could transport them if the enemy ship trying to take Jack Crusher, he put up these little devices so that they couldn't do that. And, you know, there was a drama where the Titan was trying to lock onto them but couldn't, and then Picard had to shoot them. But anyway, what makes this really, really Star Trek is this right here. They're having a conversation with Captain Vatic, which Captain Vatic right now looks so fucking evil. I love her. And she's just, what's great, and it reminds me of one of the Next Generation episodes. And keep in mind, I don't know the exact episode, but there is a Vulcan or a Romulan. I think it's a Romulan that was on a ship, and he's not a bad guy. One of the Romulans goes on screen just like Captain Vatic and gives like a ultimatum. Either you give him up or I shoot you out of the and kill you. That's why I think this is really, really, really Star Trek, because they're having conversations. It's not about like J.J. Abrams flashy actiony. They have to have this politics talk where they're just like, hey, I'm not gonna give this up. We could have a trial if he's done anything wrong. And she's like, check our systems. And she takes her shield off. And then one of the officers on the bridge is like naming all these weapons that can pretty much shoot them to oblivion and make sure that they're not there anymore. Shaw is like, man, he's an actual threat, and what should I do about this? I mean, she's an absolute threat, or whoever these people are, because we see this face here. And the people on the first episode with the mask and stuff are on her bridge. Back to being Star Trek, they're having conversations where Shaw's like, I need to give up Jack because one against the many, because literally she could shoot us and kill us all. Now, Card is like, well, something is up. Why do they want Jack? Shaw looks in the Federation computers and finds out that he's like all these identities and done all these crimes. What I like about Star Trek is that there's something even under that on probably the reason why he's doing that. And he also brings up when Picard is talking to Jack Crusher that he's kind of like Doctors Without Borders, where they're going to different places and doing things and getting medicine and helping out the freedom fighters and all that. I just love the conversation where, what should we do in this situation? Should we fight, or should we try to run away and do some warp speed? They do, I believe at the end of the episode, they go into the nebula cloud that's in front of them in some way. Shaw having a decision on what he should do. Obviously, he makes a choice that we need to continue the show instead of just giving up Jack Crusher, because I imagine if he gave up Jack Crusher, they would either like kill him right away or take him, and then she would shoot the ship anyway. They had to like continue as far as running away and trying to get away from the threat. And another thing is how they're linking the Captain Vatic here. I think what's probably happening is Jack knows about that special weapon that we saw at the fleet day, where it closed a portal to suck up the place and then spit it out. And I think that's the information that she wants, is from Jack, because he knows probably the seller and the buyer. I think there's a red herring. I don't think she committed the terrorist act. I think there's someone deeper. I think that's why Dr. Crusher is like, you can't trust anybody from Starfleet. Point number 3 on that, that's why I think it's so Star Trek, is because they're having politics on the bridge as far as, run away, start a war, or live, which would still be part of running away. But you get my point. If you watch The Next Generation, if you watch the original Star Trek, if you watch Voyager, Deep Space Nine, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Point number 4, another positive. I'm just giving up straight positives here as far as points. So the person in episode 1, Raffi, was talking to a computer screen and telling her to, not engage in some things, and telling them that we don't need to be in person. So in this episode, she's trying to investigate that terrorist attack. In the beginning, she talks to her ex-husband about getting a meeting with Sneed, because Sneed was probably a person of interest, and they brought up this Latok guy, which I believe is a Romulan terrorist as well. She talked to her ex-husband about setting up a meeting, and the husband's like, oh wait, I thought you were talking about, seeing your son, because your son thinks you're a junkie. And the husband gives like an ultimatum saying, hey, I could set you up with a meeting with your son, or I could set you a meeting with Sneed, but you have to choose between family or work. Obviously, she's choosing work because they need to continue the story, but she goes back to the computer and tries to get more information. The computer says disengage, disengage, stop it, you're off the case. So she decides to go to Sneed and act like she's part of Latok. I think that's how you say his name. If not, who cares? It's just, he's dead anyway. Because Sneed is going along with it, saying, how do I don't know you're Starfleet? Take this drug, kind of like what they do with narc officers or police officers in general, just to see if they will take the drug to see if they're a cop or not. So she takes the drug and she starts to get high, and then Sneed says, hey, I know you don't work for Latok because I have his head right here, and he puts it onto the table. She's about to get attacked until, boom, Worf comes and then saves the day. And he, at the end, after he kills everybody in, which, by the way, he cuts off Sneed's head and it looks freaking cool. But at the end of this scene, he says, I told you to not engage. And I'm like, boom, that's freaking cool. Because he's always done like a lot of intelligence and weapons on the Enterprise. So that's cool that's how they written him into the show. That's point number 4. Point number 5, there's so much positive on the show. It's freaking crazy that I can't think of a negative thing to give this episode at all. This scene right here, it's near the end. Riker, at a certain point, when Shaw says you have an hour to get information from Jack Crusher in order to go against Vatic as far as giving up this person, because they know once they give him up, he's either gonna die or they're gonna die anyway. But we don't know Vatic's intentions at all. We just know that she has all these weapons to blow them up to Kingdom Come. Riker, during all that craziness, decides to wake up Dr. Crusher. And the doctor in the medbay is like, oh, she needs to rest. She comes into the bridge and doesn't say a single word. She just looks at Picard and she shakes her head. And it's like he knows. He knows. He's like, and then he like turns to Shaw and he's like, I can't give him up because he's my son. That delivery, because if you look at all modern writing today, like they would have all like a full episode on how Card and Crusher did the nasty bumps to create Jack and all that stuff, and we don't need that. Literally, you just have this scene where they just look at each other and acknowledge the fact that, boom, this is my son and we need to save him. Again, you could also do the few against the many. I understand that point of view, but like I said, I feel like there's more to it, that Beverly Crusher and Jack Crusher are running away from corrupt people that could be part of Starfleet. I love Shaw's like reactions, like, I guess like Picard now running the ship because he's an admiral, so whatever. But and that's where they, after this scene, you know, they hit the Vatic ship and then goes into the nebula cloud, and that's where the episode ends. I just wanted to point out that this scene was really cool, and you don't need a whole dialogue of explaining this is my son. And I thought this was great. Really, really great. So in conclusion, as you can tell, all 5 points were positive. I really like this episode, and I'm giving it a cloud 9. I have no negative things about this episode, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. It's getting a perfect score because it's such a Star Trek episode. Like, this is the first time where I'm just like, oh, we're having politics. Oh, it's not identity politics. It's straight up, there's an enemy, we're being hailed, and we need to take care of this problem. We need to run away. We need to find out what's going on with this new enemy. Kind of like, you know, when you had the Borg come in, it was like, who is this enemy and what are they capable of? That's what I like about Star Trek. That's what I like about finding out new species, new enemies, new friends, new planets, blah, 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 space thing. Not about androids, right? Not about immigration when we go back in time. I don't want to learn about those. I don't want to learn about past politics. Want to move forward. And that's what we're doing here in Star Trek Picard. We're moving forward in time, and we're just forgetting season 1 and season 2. Even though they kind of sprinkle in what happened in those seasons, it just doesn't matter. I really like how the show looks. I really like how the writing is so far, and I'm loving how they're shooing in the next generation people, especially with the Worf thing. I think the Worf thing was surprising and cool to see. So that is my 5 points format. Like I said, if you like it or hate this format, please comment down below. Make sure you like this video if you like it. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so you can get those notifications every time a video goes live. The next show I will be covering, and I might use the 5-point system on there, is The Last of Us, which is episode 7. We have 3 more episodes in that season. Until next time, guys, I will see you on this couch in the next video. Bye, guys.